The Galactic Council is seriously worried about humanity's space ambitions. Humanity was never supposed to get this far. Not this fast. Not in this way. Out there, in the vast expanse of the universe, a council of ancient civilizations watches over the cosmos. They have seen countless species rise and fall, civilizations that reach for the stars only to be consumed by their own arrogance. They have strict rules, carefully managing which species are allowed to progress beyond their homeworlds and which are best left confined for the safety of the galaxy. And then there's Earth, a planet that, by all accounts, should have remained insignificant. A world that only a few centuries ago still fought wars with swords and arrows. A species that, in the blink of a cosmic eye, has gone from fire and stone to nuclear power and artificial intelligence. To the Galactic Council, humanity was an afterthought. Until now. Something has changed. The rate at which humans are advancing is alarming. Their ambition is boundless. They're sending machines beyond their solar system. Their telescopes are peering into the depths of the universe, mapping the stars, searching for others like them. Worse still, their resilience is unlike anything the Council has ever seen. Empires rise and fall, but humanity? Humanity endures. It learns. It grows. It refuses to be stopped. The Council is starting to worry. Because if there's one thing they've learned over millions of years of overseeing the stars, it's this. When a species grows too fast, too strong, without the proper guidance, they become a problem. A problem that could shift the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. A problem that, if left unchecked, might one day challenge the authority of the Council itself. And humanity is well on its way to doing just that. The question is, what will the Galactic Council do about it? This is just the beginning of the battle. Want more thrilling encounters and epic HFY moments? Subscribe now to HFY Aliens Battle and never miss a fight for humanity's survival. Hit the bell icon so you're always ready for the next battle. Now let's continue our story. Far beyond human understanding, beyond the reach of any telescope or radio signal, exists the Galactic Council, a coalition of the oldest, most advanced civilizations in the known universe. It was formed eons ago, long before Earth's first creatures crawled out of the oceans, with a singular purpose: to maintain order. The Council is not a democracy. It is not a benevolent force guiding young civilizations toward prosperity. It is a system of control built upon cold logic and the experience of countless civilizations that came before. They have seen what happens when a species is left unchecked, how unchecked ambition, reckless curiosity, and rapid technological leaps lead to chaos, war, and sometimes extinction. Each member of the Council represents an ancient civilization, some so old they have forgotten their own origins. The Seraphids, ethereal beings of pure energy, are the historians of the galaxy, possessing knowledge spanning millions of years. The Yviari, a reptilian species with minds like supercomputers, control the bureaucratic functions of the Council. The Vashari, war-hardened strategists, have seen entire planets burned due to species that were allowed to grow too strong. For eons, they have enforced the natural order, carefully regulating which species are allowed to advance and which must be contained. They call it managed evolution, a necessary control to ensure that no reckless, unpredictable force disrupts the delicate balance of the universe. They do not act out of malice. To them, this is not cruelty, it is survival. Some species are guided, given controlled technological advancements to steer them toward peaceful integration. Others are subtly sabotaged, their progress slowed through unseen interventions, failed experiments, lost data, mysterious setbacks that seem like mere coincidence. And in rare cases, when a species proves to be a true threat, the Council takes direct action. Entire civilizations have disappeared without a trace. Planets wiped clean as if they never existed. This is the authority that humanity now faces. And for the first time in millennia, the Council is unsure. Because humanity does not fit the pattern. They were never given guidance, yet they have advanced at an unnatural pace. They were never given warnings, yet they have survived against impossible odds. They were never meant to become a galactic power, yet now they are knocking on the doors of the cosmos. The Council watches in silence, uncertain whether this species will be another fleeting civilization doomed to fade away or something far more dangerous. And so, an emergency session is called. The question on every council member's mind is simple. What should be done about Earth? The unexpected problem, humanity. The meeting chamber of the Galactic Council is a place where time itself seems to bend. It is vast, larger than any human mind could comprehend, filled with delegates from species older than Earth's continents. Some of them do not speak in words, but in pulses of energy, telepathic waves, or chemical exchanges. They have convened many times before, whenever a rising civilization shows signs of instability or danger. But this time, the subject of concern is different. Earth, one of the delegates says, its voice a guttural echo through the chamber. The humans. There is a murmur of acknowledgement, though some species do not murmur. They click, hum, or vibrate in response. Humanity is no longer an unknown factor. It has become a concern. They were primitive mere moments ago. Another voice chimes in, this one a whispering vibration from a being that exists partly outside of time. Now, they send machines beyond their world. They split the atom. They reach toward artificial intelligence. Their progress is unnatural. A flicker of data appears in the center of the chamber. Images of Earth's history flash across the void. Towering cities, devastating wars, scientific breakthroughs, space exploration. Every war, every crisis, every breakthrough laid bare for the Council to analyze. The images move faster, the pace accelerating. Thousands of years of progress condensed into mere moments. Too fast. A being of crystalline form states, its voice sharp and final. Their advancement is erratic. No civilization has ever moved at this speed without external guidance. And yet, they have had none. The Council had observed civilizations rise before. Most followed a predictable trajectory, slow discovery, a gradual climb, moments of crisis that often led to stagnation. Even the most successful species took hundreds of thousands of years to transition from primitive technology to interstellar travel. Humanity, by comparison, had done it in mere centuries. From first flight to space travel, from the first written word to artificial intelligence, humans had accelerated beyond what should have been possible. They had broken rules that no one had told them existed. They had stumbled upon knowledge that had taken others eons to grasp. And worst of all, they had done it through sheer willpower and defiance. Perhaps they are simply an anomaly. A member of the Wyviari suggests, its segmented eyes blinking in sequence. An unpredictable species. They will burn themselves out. They always do. The room falls silent for a moment. Then another voice, ancient and weighted with experience, speaks. Perhaps. But there is another possibility. A ripple of unease spreads through the chamber. There may be something new. The words linger. The idea is unsettling. The Council had controlled the rise and fall of civilizations for longer than the stars themselves could recall. But if humanity was something beyond their calculations, something that did not fit within their carefully constructed order, then the question was no longer whether humans would fail. It was whether they would succeed. And if they did, what would that mean for the rest of the galaxy? The Council had eliminated threats before. Quietly. Efficiently. Planets had disappeared. Entire histories erased without a trace. If humanity was to be dealt with, now was the time. But there was a problem. Unlike other civilizations that had been silenced before they could leave their homeworlds, humanity had already begun its journey into the cosmos. They had already planted their flag on the moon. They were already reaching for Mars. Their probes had slipped past the outer planets, whispering back secrets from the void. They were already out there, and that made them far more difficult to stop. The Council now faced an uncomfortable truth. The humans had become a variable they could no longer ignore. The question was no longer if they should intervene. The question was how. Deliberation, a heated debate. The council chamber, vast and ancient, is alive with tension. For the first time in thousands of years, there is no consensus, no clear course of action, just a storm of conflicting opinions, theories, and fears. The humans are dangerous. A HFY War strategist growls, its voice a low vibration that sends shivers through the air. Their history is one of war, conquest, and destruction. Left unchecked, they will bring ruin to the galaxy. We must act now. A ripple of agreement spreads through some of the delegates, but others remain still, considering. They are ambitious, counters a being of pure light, its form shifting as it speaks. But ambition is not inherently dangerous. They have also created great wonders, saved themselves from extinction time and time again. Should we punish them for their will to survive? A new voice cuts through the discussion, deep and measured. Their unpredictability is the real concern. It is one of the HFY, a species known for its vast intelligence and cold calculations. We have seen species rise through war before. We have seen aggression. We have seen ambition. But we have never seen anything like this. The humans do not follow patterns. They do not adhere to our models. They make choices that no logic can predict. And that is what makes them dangerous. The council murmurs. It is true. Every civilization follows a trajectory, a path that can be studied and, when necessary, manipulated. But humans are different. Their history is a sequence of contradictions. They wage war, yet they also create peace. They destroy, yet they also rebuild. They are brutal, yet they are compassionate. They are reckless, yet they are brilliant. Every time they seem on the verge of self-destruction, they find a way to survive. Every time they face an impossible challenge, they adapt. They do not break. They change. And that is what frightens the council most. Their technological advancement has no natural limit. Another delegate interjects, frustration evident. They will keep pushing forward. They have already begun experimenting with artificial intelligence, genetic modification, cybernetics. And unlike other species, they do not hesitate to merge with their own creations. They do not fear altering themselves. A holographic display flickers to life, showing images from Earth. Humans with robotic limbs, neural implants, AI systems growing more sophisticated every year. The line between biological and machine blurring. They do not evolve. The delegate continues, voice growing darker. They force evolution upon themselves. Another round of uneasy murmurs. Evolution is supposed to be a slow, natural process. But humans? They take control of their own evolution. They rewrite their own biology. They are becoming something else. The conversation turns to solutions. Containment. One of the council's elder members suggests. It has worked before. Limit their access to resources. Introduce subtle setbacks to their technological advancements. They will stagnate, as many before them have. No, says another, shaking its massive head. That will not work with humans. They thrive in adversity. When faced with obstacles, they do not give up. They adapt. If we attempt to contain them, they will only find a way around our restrictions. A heavy silence follows. It is an uncomfortable truth. So the next suggestion is more drastic. Then we eliminate them. The words hang in the air, heavier than any other spoken. Some delegates remain silent, waiting to see how the conversation unfolds. Others react immediately. Genocide is not the way, the ethereal Seraphid delegate says, voice tinged with something almost like sorrow. We are not executioners. If we do nothing, they will come for us eventually, the war strategist warns. They do not yet know of us, but that will change. Their hunger for knowledge is insatiable. Their curiosity is their greatest strength and our greatest threat. If they discover us, they will not cower. They will seek to challenge us. The conversation spirals into chaos. Arguments, counter-arguments. Some favor diplomacy, believing that humans could be integrated into the council. Others insist that Earth must be destroyed before it is too late. Finally, a voice of authority cuts through the noise. It is one of the highest-ranking members of the Council, a being who has witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. There is one fact we cannot ignore. It states, voice steady. Humanity does not fear the unknown. Every other species we have encountered, when faced with something beyond their understanding, has retreated, waited. But humans? The chamber grows silent, listening. Humans run toward the unknown. The words settle like a weight over the assembly. It is true. Other civilizations had feared the great unknown of space, hesitant to leave the safety of their homeworlds. But humans? They had always been explorers, pioneers. They were not afraid of the dark. And that, more than anything else, is what makes them impossible to predict. The Council is at an impasse. Action must be taken. But what action? Do they attempt to control humanity from the shadows, manipulating their growth? Do they attempt to make contact, risking exposure? Or do they wipe Earth clean before it is too late? There is no easy answer. But the one thing they do know is this: humanity will not stop. And if they make the wrong choice now, it could change the course of the entire galaxy. The reason for the fear: the Council had faced threats before. Aggressive empires, war-driven species, civilizations that had risen too fast and burned even faster. They had always dealt with them the same way: containment, sabotage, or, in extreme cases, eradication. But this time they hesitated, because humanity was different. The fear gripping the Galactic Council was not rooted in humanity's weapons, though their potential for destruction was significant. It was not in their numbers, though they were multiplying at an alarming rate. It was not even in their ability to travel the stars, though they were closer to that reality than any species had ever been without assistance. No, the fear was something deeper, something more unsettling. Humanity did not follow the rules. The Council had studied thousands of civilizations, species that developed in controlled, logical patterns, civilizations that followed predictable paths of technological and social evolution. Even warlike species had followed a certain trajectory, conquering, expanding, exhausting themselves, then either collapsing or stabilizing. But humans? They defied every pattern. They fought brutal wars, only to turn around and form alliances with former enemies. They discovered destructive technologies, yet used them to build and heal as often as they used them to destroy. They faced extinction-level threats, from plagues to environmental collapse, and somehow, against all logic, survived. Humanity did not just endure hardship, they thrived in it. Other civilizations are fragile. One council member stated, its multiple eyes narrowing. They reach a breaking point, and they either stagnate or fall. Humans, they break, and somehow they rebuild themselves stronger. Another member of the council, an elder who had observed galactic affairs for millennia, nodded gravely. We have seen empires rise through war before. We have seen species struggle for survival. But we have never seen a species that learns as quickly as the humans do. That was the terrifying part. They didn't just adapt to challenges. They evolved in real time, adjusting their entire civilization within mere generations. One war would wipe out half their planet, and within decades, they would be launching spacecraft. A disaster would cripple their economy, and within years, they would invent new technologies to rebuild stronger than before. They do not fear destruction. One delegate whispered, horror in their voice. They embrace it. They treat failure as a lesson, not an ending. That was what made humans truly dangerous. Most civilizations feared loss. A species on the brink of destruction would retreat, surrender, or collapse into itself. But humans? They fought harder. They innovated. They refused to accept defeat, even when it was inevitable. It was as if hardship was part of their nature, as if they needed it. The Council had never seen this before. Civilizations that advanced too fast usually collapsed under the weight of their own ambition. But humans had already survived multiple extinction-level events. They had already pushed past their limits, not once, but countless times. Some of the council members still believed that humanity would burn itself out, that their recklessness would lead to their downfall before they ever reached the stars. But others weren't so sure. Because what if humanity didn't collapse? What if they kept surviving? Kept evolving? What if, in 1,000 years, they weren't just a spacefaring species, but a dominant force in the galaxy? The possibility was unsettling. The possibility was terrifying. Because if humanity could evolve this quickly, if they could break every pattern the Council had ever known, then there was no telling what they could become. And the most frightening thought of all? Not even the humans knew the answer to that question. For the first time in the history of the Galactic Council, the greatest threat to the balance of the universe was not an empire, nor a weapon, nor a war. It was a single species. And the worst part? The humans had no idea that the Council even existed. Yet, a hidden factor, humanity's X factor. For all their calculations, for all their predictive models, the Galactic Council had never been able to quantify one thing: humanity's X factor. Every species they had encountered followed a logical progression. They discovered fire, agriculture, industry, space travel, all at rates that could be predicted, influenced, and, when necessary, controlled. Even aggressive civilizations followed set patterns. They waged wars, expanded, collapsed, or stabilized. Their actions, no matter how chaotic, could always be mapped onto a framework of known behaviors. But humans? Humans were the outliers. Every time the Council thought they understood Earth's inhabitants, humans did something that shattered their models. They should have perished countless times throughout their history. Plagues, nuclear standoffs, environmental disasters, economic collapses. Any one of these should have set them back for centuries. Instead, they pushed forward. And then there was the strangest phenomenon of all: humanity's ability to create against all odds. Most species evolved technology as a means of survival. They invented out of necessity. They advanced at a rate proportional to the dangers they faced. But humans? Humans invented for the sake of curiosity. They built machines long before they needed them. They imagined devices centuries before they had the means to create them. They were not just reactive, they were proactive. And that was something the Council had never seen before. They dream. One Council member had once whispered, studying the records of human history. They imagine things that do not exist, and then they make them real. It was unlike anything in the known galaxy. Where other species advanced only when forced to, humans leapt ahead simply because they wanted to. They had no reason to go to the moon, and yet they did. They had no urgent survival need for artificial intelligence, and yet they pursued it. They had no practical reason to send probes into interstellar space, and yet Voyager was already beyond their solar system. They built rockets before they needed to. They created science fiction before they understood physics. They envisioned the stars before they ever left their own atmosphere. It was as if their very nature was to break the limits of what should be possible. And that, more than anything, was what terrified the Galactic Council. Because if a species like humanity, reckless, unpredictable, uncontrollable, was already reaching for the stars without guidance, what would they become once they had real power? And what was stopping them from surpassing even the Council itself? The Council's unspoken fear. For all their arguments, for all their discussions, there was one thing no member of the Council dared to say aloud. What if humanity was not just another species? What if they were something new? A deviation from the natural order? A species that did not play by the rules of evolution? What if humans were not just a rising power, but a sign that the universe itself was changing? That possibility, the idea that humans were not just a threat, but a fundamental shift in how civilizations evolve, was too horrifying to fully consider. Because if it were true, then the Council was no longer in control. And for a civilization that had ruled the stars for eons, that was the most terrifying reality of all. The decision, what should be done? The Council chamber was silent. Not the kind of silence that came from peace, but the kind that came before a storm. Every being present understood the weight of what was happening. This was not just another decision. This was the kind of moment that would be remembered in galactic history for millennia. A species had emerged, one unlike any before. A species that was not following the natural order. A species that could not be predicted, controlled, or easily stopped. And so, the question remained, what should be done about humanity? The arguments. The first faction of the council, the interventionists, believed humanity needed to be dealt with swiftly. They are dangerous, one of them hissed. Their progress is unnatural. If we do not act now, they will surpass us in a matter of centuries. A primitive species should not be capable of this level of advancement without guidance. They must be removed before they become a galactic threat. The word removed sent a ripple of tension through the chamber. It was not the first time the council had ordered the elimination of a species. It had happened before, quietly, efficiently, without leaving a trace. A subtle shift in a planet's orbit. A virus introduced into the ecosystem. An asteroid redirected at just the right angle. Entire civilizations had vanished without ever realizing they were being erased. But something about this felt different. Then came the second faction, the manipulationists. Outright destruction would be reckless, one of them argued. Humanity is already reaching beyond their planet. If we attempt to wipe them out and fail, they will know. And if they know, they will retaliate. We must contain them, set limits on their technology, ensure they never become strong enough to challenge us. This was a strategy that had worked before. Slow as civilization's progress, introduce setbacks, keep them forever in a state of stagnation. A planet could be kept in check for millennia if manipulated correctly. But then, a third voice spoke up. The integrationists. What if we're looking at this the wrong way? The council turned to face the speaker, a being of great age and wisdom, one who had seen more civilizations rise and fall than anyone else in the chamber. Every species we have encountered has followed the same path. They grow, they expand, they stabilize, or they fall. But humans? A pause. Humans do not follow the path. They make their own. The room remained silent. This is why we fear them, the elder continued. Because we do not understand them. Because we do not know what they will become. The elder leaned forward. But that is precisely why we must not destroy them. Murmurs filled the chamber. If we interfere, we may disrupt something that is meant to happen. What if humanity is not a mistake, but an evolution? What if they're the next step? What if the universe is not breaking its own rules, but changing them? The idea was radical, unthinkable, and yet it struck something deep within the council members. An uncomfortable truth they had not wanted to face. Perhaps the real fear was not that humanity would destroy the balance of the galaxy. Perhaps the real fear was that the balance was never meant to last forever. The verdict. For the first time in millennia, the Galactic Council reached no consensus. The vote was split. Some pushed for humanity's destruction, others for containment, a rare few for observation, allowing humanity to determine its own fate. And so, a compromise was reached. They would not destroy humanity, not yet, but they would watch, they would prepare, and, if necessary, they would intervene. Covert measures will be put in place. Humanity's progress will be monitored more closely than any species before them. Agents would be deployed in the shadows, influencing, manipulating where necessary. If humanity grew too fast, they would be slowed. If they reached too far, they would be pulled back. But one thing was certain. The Council could no longer ignore them. The humans had become a factor in the galactic order. And now, the galaxy was holding its breath, waiting to see what Earth would do next. The Council's final plan. The decision had been made. Humanity would not be destroyed, not yet. But they could not be left to their own devices, either. The Galactic Council, for the first time in its long history, had been forced into uncertainty. And uncertainty was dangerous. A plan was needed. A strategy to ensure that humans did not spiral out of control before the Council could understand what they were dealing with. Step 1. Surveillance. Humanity's movements had to be tracked. Every breakthrough, every discovery, every step toward the stars. Advanced monitoring stations, invisible to human technology, were already being positioned across the solar system. Cloak probes would orbit Earth's moon, disguised as harmless space debris. Deep space listening posts, far beyond Pluto, would intercept human transmissions, analyzing their knowledge, their fears, their ambitions. Even Earth's own satellites, unknowingly transmitting their signals into the void, would be subtly manipulated, redirecting, filtering, feeding just enough information back to the Council's intelligence networks without ever alerting the humans. Humanity believed they were alone. They weren't. They never had been. Step 2. Subtle interference. A species as unpredictable as humans could not be allowed to develop unchecked. But outright sabotage would be too dangerous, too noticeable. Instead, the Council opted for a subtler hand. Scientific advancements would be slowed, not halted. Crucial experiments would fail at just the right moment. A virus corrupting vital data, a miscalculation in a crucial formula, a promising breakthrough buried beneath bureaucratic red tape. These were the tools the Council would use. Not enough to stop them, but just enough to keep them from advancing too quickly. And if a human genius rose too fast, if an individual threatened to push humanity ahead of schedule, accidents could happen. Step 3. Direct influence. For centuries, the Council had remained in the shadows. But now, they faced a question they had never considered before. Should they make contact? Some believed it was inevitable, that humanity would soon reach the point where they could no longer be ignored, that it was better to introduce themselves as mentors rather than enemies. A plan was proposed. Agents would be placed within human society, not as invaders, not as conquerors, but as guides. They would take the form of whispers in human leadership, advisors, consultants, quiet influences nudging Earth's destiny in a direction that aligned with the Council's interests. But there was a risk. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its defiance, its ability to see through lies, to challenge authority, to question everything. If the humans ever discovered the truth, if they ever realized they were being manipulated, then the plan would collapse, and the consequences would be catastrophic. The one thing the Council couldn't control. Despite all their plans, all their strategies, there was one factor the Council had no power over. Human curiosity. They had seen it before. Humans were not content to stay where they were. They were never satisfied with the knowledge they had. The moment they reached one boundary, they immediately sought the next. They would search the stars. They would look for life. They would ask the questions no other species had dared to ask. And if they ever suspected that something was holding them back, they would fight to break free. That was the Council's greatest fear. Because despite all their power, despite their centuries of experience controlling the course of civilizations, they had never faced a species like this before, a species that refused to be controlled. And so, the plan was set. Monitor them, manipulate them, guide them where necessary, but never let them know the truth. Because if humanity ever realized that the universe was watching them, shaping them, fearing them, then nothing in the galaxy would be able to stop what came next. Humanity's response, the wild card. For all the Galactic Council strategies, for all their surveillance and manipulation, they had overlooked one crucial truth about humanity. Humans always find a way. They were supposed to be blind, unaware of the forces pulling their strings. But already, there were cracks forming in the Council's perfect plan. A radio signal, dismissed as static by human scientists, carried strange anomalies, patterns that shouldn't exist. A deep space probe, thought lost beyond Neptune, transmitted a burst of data that no one could explain. A telescope designed by a team of stubborn engineers picked up something it shouldn't have, something that made a few high-ranking scientists go silent and resign unexpectedly. Humanity was looking. They always had been. And sooner or later, they would see the warning signs. On Earth, the cracks in the illusion were growing. Governments, intelligence agencies, and private researchers were beginning to notice patterns that didn't add up. Unexplained technological failures. Sudden reversals in scientific progress. Engineers who mysteriously lost funding at the worst possible moment. Some called it coincidence. Others called it conspiracy. But a rare few, those who dared to think beyond what was acceptable, began to ask the real question. Are we alone? The official answer was still yes. The truth was far more complicated. The first mistake. The Council had been careful. Every piece of interference, every act of sabotage, every manipulation was done with precision. But no system was perfect. And then it happened. A mistake. A probe, meant to self-destruct before reaching deep space, malfunctioned. Instead of shutting down, it sent back something strange. The data was encrypted, garbled, fragmented beyond recognition. But humans were relentless. They didn't ignore anomalies. They chased them. They obsessed over them. For years, no one could decipher what the probe had transmitted. The project was shelved, buried beneath bureaucratic nonsense, until an independent scientist, armed with nothing but determination and an unhealthy amount of coffee, figured it out. It was a signal, a transmission from deep space. Not human, something else. What happens when humans learn the truth? The Council's greatest fear was now becoming reality. Humanity was getting too close. They had always been persistent, but now they had proof, something tangible. A signal that didn't belong to them. A whisper from the void, an echo of something greater than themselves. And if there was one thing history had proven about humans, it was this. They didn't run from the unknown. They ran toward it. The Council knew it was only a matter of time. Soon, the humans would break through the barriers placed in front of them. Soon, they would uncover the truth. Soon, they would realize they were being watched. And once they did, there would be no stopping them. Because humans had never been content with the answers given to them. They always wanted to know more. The point of no return. The Galactic Council had faced wars before. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had dealt with threats and contained countless civilizations that dared to reach too far. But this time, it was different. They weren't dealing with an empire. They weren't dealing with a predictable species. They were dealing with something they had never encountered before. A species that refused to stop. The moment humanity realized the truth, the moment they saw beyond the veil, the moment they understood that they had been held back, that would be the beginning of something the Council could not control. They had two choices: reveal themselves and attempt to guide humanity before they became too powerful, continue to manipulate them from the shadows, hoping they never put the pieces together. But deep down, the Council knew the truth. No matter what they did, no matter how hard they tried to stop it, humanity was coming, and the galaxy had no idea what was about to happen next. A warning or a future of hope. The Galactic Council had made their choice. They would continue to observe, continue to manipulate, continue to interfere just enough to keep humanity from advancing too quickly. But they knew, deep down, that this was not a long-term solution. It was only a delay, because humanity was not like the others. They did not wait to be guided. They did not accept barriers. They did not surrender to the unknown. They conquered it. Every attempt to slow them down only made them more determined. Every obstacle placed in their path only made them more creative. Every setback they suffered only made them stronger. And that was the fundamental problem. How do you stop something that refuses to be stopped? The inevitability of discovery. The Council had kept civilizations in the dark for millions of years. But with humans, it was different. Their technology was accelerating. Their thirst for knowledge was relentless. Their curiosity was boundless. It was no longer a question of if they would discover the truth. It was only a question of when. And when that moment came, when humanity realized that they were being watched, that they were being manipulated, that their place in the universe had been dictated by forces beyond their control, the galaxy would change forever. A warning or a beginning. Some within the Council still believed humanity could be contained, that their destiny could be controlled, that they could be forced to follow the path the Council had laid out for them. But others, those who had studied humans most closely, knew better. They had seen Earth's history. They had watched as humans tore through every barrier placed before them. They had watched as they rose from extinction again and again, stronger every time. They knew the truth. You cannot contain the uncontrollable. The moment humanity realized the truth, they would not cower. They would not bow. They would rise. And then, the Council would face a choice of their own. Would they stand in humanity's way, risking war with a species that had never lost a war they truly committed to? Or would they do the unthinkable, step aside, and let humanity take its place among the stars. The future of the galaxy. No one in the council knew what would happen next. Would humanity become the greatest force of destruction the universe had ever seen? Or would they become something even more dangerous, something the council had never planned for? A force of change? A force of revolution? A species that did not just take power, but rewrote the rules of power itself? No one knew the answer. Not the council, not humanity, not even the universe itself. But one thing was clear. The old order of the galaxy was ending, and a new era was beginning. An era where humanity was no longer just a primitive species on a tiny blue world. An era where humanity was coming, and the galaxy would never be the same again.